anything else is a genuine, open dialogue, probably to include the diasporas of the Cameroonians, because they have a great deal of interest in this. Because, sir, what's happening, both sides are becoming further and further radicalized. Unfortunately, I believe that the president of Cameroon is being told by his hardliners that he can win this thing militarily. There is no way that they're going to win this militarily. The violence is going to get worse in the northwest and the southwest. The arm for an arm, literally an eye for an eye, and the whole world will be blind there. The violence will spread to the West Province. It may even spread to the Littoral Province, which is the large city of Douala. So there has to be something. We are very, very energetically speaking with our allies. That's why I said that we just had in the Security Council this Monday what the United Nations calls an ARIAS, where it's an open debate, and it's so clear that everybody wants to move forward on this. Are sanctions on the table? Everything's on the table moving forward. But we have to bring this situation to an end. Else, there's a possibility of what happened in Nigeria with Boko Haram. Started as a small movement, and now look at it. And it'd be disastrous for the region if the Cameroonian government turned this thing into yet another type of Boko Haram.
Or Boko Haram could come back into Cameroon. Well, how do you mentioned, that it appears to be spiraling out of control because the more the security forces clamp down, the more resistance there is in the Anglophone region. So what can we do that we're not already doing?
Well, like I said, the best we can do for right now is just work with our allies to really make the Cameroonian government understand the need for a real dialogue. And if that doesn't happen relatively quickly, then we have to look at the array of other tools we have in our toolkit, because, frankly, the possibility of sanctions is always there. But it's always better to work in concert with our friends before we go in that direction, because the frustrating thing is it is in the interest of everybody to have a national dialogue. The situation will not end militarily. Each day, the atrocities will get worse and worse.
Is permanent separation of the two regions a possibility?
Sir, I don't believe so, because I think that most Cameroonians, including in the southwest and northwest, have a sense of Cameroonianness, and the concept of a separated, what they call Ambazonia, in my view, is not realistic. Okay. It is the view of the United States of America to recognize the integrity of the country of Cameroon.
Got it. Thank you very much. Now you're back.
Hey! Botala finish. Botala finish. Sifera don't finish. Sifera don't finish. You lost the fire how no? Don't cause ça fait pompier they come. Don't cause ça fait pour le sonaga. You got a fire. You got a fire. You die. You know.
Don't start shoot. Now here, now Moliko that checkpoint. Now in that shooting for Moliko Stadium, and that for the shoots. they don't start shoot. Na here oh, na Moliko that checkpoint. Na in that shooting for Moliko Stadium, and that for they shoot. They shoot so they don't keep us in the picking oh. They don't keep us in the picking, they shoot gun, be all man come over road now. And that's not bad. Away.
Where Papa God? Until the bishop himself is here. Joy, Papa. Jesus.
That is explosive. It is Anna at. Joy, Papa God. Nana so begin that for boy. We never finish crime.
That was a fire explosion that occurred just 2 inches after the incidents of the child that was killed. And I just want to continue to show these images of what the people of Southern Cameroon are going through in the Boya nation's capital of Southern Cameroon Ambazonia. In the same time again, while this was happening, there was also an explosion in Victoria, where we don't know if there is any casualties. Details of that will still be made available. This is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking here from the great state of Texas on what making news or what making sense in Southern Cameroon Ambazonia. Stay tuned for this tragedy that happens in Southern Cameroon. The colonial officials continue to execute the young children of Southern Cameroon simply because of a $500 francs CFA bribery, which is not even equivalent to a US dollar. And that was the bribery that had taken the life of a child of Southern Cameroon family. This is Comrade Futon Daniel. Stay tuned and
This child would have been your child, my child. That is it. An innocent child. He was going to school. I'm fighting here for children to go to school. Yes.
That was the colonial governor of the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. Just pay attention, listen to the colonial governor. The people of Southern Cameroon are not endorsed by colonial governor. And so this is what the colonial governor had to say in the Southern Cameroon territory.
That a child on his way to school is killed. So it is a shock. With the school uniform. Rest assured that I, governor, you know me. You know that I'm not a colonial. Those who did it, no matter they are great, they will pay. They will pay. Are you listening to me? Yes. Okay. But I want us to carry the corpse of our innocent child to the mortuary. We must mourn her in peace. You will say that peace.
Yes.
You know that the colonial governor is La Republique, even in Southern Cameroon, in Bamena, is still La Republique. And so they continue to implement the colonial governor. And that is where the bribery of 500, that's what they use for their pocket allowances, continue to impose upon the Southern Cameroon and sacrifice. Our people believe in elected officials who represent the image of the people and not colonial appointees to tell our people how to be governed. We were never a colonial or a conquered territory of the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroon. And that is why we must stand first. We must stand together and defeat the colonial administrator that continue to impose upon the people of Southern Cameroon. Stay tuned and listen to the colonial.
In peace, no matter how painful the situation is, it is an atrocity, but let us not give room to people who would like to add to this atrocity. Are you getting me well?
Yes, sir.
Please, let us now...
Let the explosion. The Anna at. Choy, Papa God. Nana so pikin die for boy. We never finish crying.
No. Osoka loko. Mosi mane.
To your father now.
Ginger, give me. Ginger, give me.
That is the painful feelings. That's the little child that was shot by the brutal colonial force of Bulus, the Bulus of the Beti origins in the Central Province that have sent to Southern Cameroon to carry on destruction of our own people. I mean, it is quite amazing why this destruction is going on. Some of the typical Bulus are still standing and speaking on behalf of a colonial gendarmerie. Okay, let's listen to the little kid when the late child.
Junior, give it to her. Give it now. Give it to the one. Give it. Give it to her.
Wait. It disabled leaf. My baby gay picking so. They wanna catch and kill him. Nonsense.
Knock the man straight down there.
They knock the man to stay there.
Knock the man straight down there.
They knock the man to stay there.
The issue on the Anglophone piece, I won't go into detail on that. I think the article plus the video this morning did a very good job of explaining the history of how it got to the point where we are today. In October of 2017, when it came kind of to a head, the Anglophone states said we want to actually form our own state, the Ambazonia state. There have been issues there with atrocities, issues with allegations of law of war issues, and this is something that it brings all this to a head.
That was the four-star U.S. general speaking about some time ago about the atrocity that is going on in Southern Cameroon. But however, from this point, you will agree with me that the perpetrator of atrocity is not actually the Southern Cameroon, is a foreign occupier, the neighboring country, La Republique of Cameroun.
Over the last several months or so, the State Department has put on hold several security force assistance programs. Right before the election in October, I, with the ambassador, went and paid a visit with President Biya, and we had a very direct conversation with him with regards to investigation of these atrocities, transparency of these atrocities, and appropriate battlefield behavior. Since that time, the State Department has made a decision not to allocate significant money, but at
That is the map of Southern Cameroon territory. Southern Cameroon that has been deprived of their right to exist as a sovereign nation. The images you've just seen is the colonial administrator that deprived the people of Southern Cameroon of their right to existence. That was Sir Andrew Cohen, the British administrator that deprived the people of their right to exist as a sovereign nation. That's Sir Andrew Cohen.
There's tremendous interest within all branches of the U.S. government towards this crisis. It could easily rocket forward. We all know the history. We all know where this is coming from. And the Anglophone population of Cameroon would very much like to be considered as first-class citizens. And there is a sense that they feel like, and they have felt a long time, like they're second-class citizens. It is up to dialogue and true dialogue to move this process forward.
Time has expired.
I ask consent to speak for an additional 2 minutes.
Without objection.
Thank you. The problem of torture among refugees is significant, with an estimated 44% of refugees in the U.S. having been victims of such horrors. Those from Bosnia, Cambodia, and many other places all receive the treatment at Kovler Center to recover from their trauma. During my visit, I had the privilege of meeting refugees who had fled the mounting violence in Cameroon. Cameroon, a West African nation, is dealing with complicated colonial legacy. Following World War I, the League of Nations appointed France and Great Britain as joint trustees of what was previously a German colony. Not surprisingly, the two colonial powers imposed their own cultures on the new Cameroon. And tragically, following the country's independence in the 1960s, Cameroonian strongman, President Paul Biya, one of the world's longest-serving leaders, now almost 40 years in office, further favored the French-speaking over the Anglophones. The results were not surprising. Mounting resentment and calls for greater autonomy within the Anglophone population, with ensuing violent suppression from the Biya regime. The refugees I met with told harrowing stories of this crackdown and violence. I was pleased to join Senator Van Hollen late last year in a letter urging Secretary Pompeo to focus U.S. attention on the unrest in Cameroon. Equally pleased when the administration scaled back U.S. military assistance to Cameroon due to this government's violent repression. As a member of the Appropriations Committee, I will be watching carefully on the level of violence in Cameroon when the day comes when we consider any foreign aid to this nation. The work of the Kovler Center is a reminder that if we are going to stand up for human rights, we must be willing to be vigilant at all times, even for small countries far away like Cameroon. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session to resume consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, Millennium Challenge Corporation, Sean Cairncross of Minnesota to be Chief Executive Officer.
Mr. President, I asked unanimous
Had established some Potemkin institutions that weren't really doing anything to bring the two sides together. Could you elaborate on that, because you ran out of time before?
Sure, yes, sir. I understand the Cameroonian government established several commissions, and I'm sorry, I don't know the exact name of it, whether it's the Multicultural Institution for National Reconciliation or something, which on the face of it, and there have been a couple of these, but they have not been provided adequate budget, and they have not really done anything. because what the country needs more than anything else is a genuine, open dialogue, probably to include the diasporas of the Cameroonians, because they have a great deal of interest in this. Because, sir, what's happening, both sides are becoming further and further radicalized. Unfortunately, I believe that the president of Cameroon is being told by his hardliners that he can win this thing militarily. There is no way that they're going to win this militarily. The violence is going to get worse in the northwest and the southwest. The arm for an arm, literally an eye for an eye, and the whole world will be blind there. The violence will spread to the West Province. It may even spread to the Littoral Province, which is the large city of Douala. So there has to be something. We are very, very energetically speaking with our allies. That's why I said that we just had in the Security Council this Monday.
That is the former U.S. Undersecretary for African Affairs, Thibault Nagy, that you may all have heard. So there's one thing I want to make it clear, is that the current administration of the United States, there is an appointed Secretary of State for African Affairs. Of course, there's current administration. The current Secretary for African Affairs is currently muted. I don't know if he ever spoken. Of course, we heard few words from during the confirmation hearing, and after that, he remained muted. Of course, the Secretary of State himself spoke briefly during the confirmation hearing. All we do know is a visa restriction. Of course, the former president went extra mile to give restriction to the neighboring country, Republique of Cameroon, even imposed sanctions and trade embargo. However, it was very unfortunate to see this current administration just issued a visa restriction. What does visa has to do with brutal regimes such as this Canvarious Paul Biya regime? Visa restriction is not enough. They can do more better. United States has the power, the capacity, the ability, the vested capability to go extra mile and do something. It is very unfortunate, but however, let's listen to the former Secretary of State for African Affairs, Mr. Thibault Nagy.
What the United Nations calls an arias, where it's an open debate, and it's so clear that everybody wants to move forward on this. Are sanctions on the table? Everything's on the table moving forward. But we have to bring this situation to an end. Else, there's a possibility of what happened in Nigeria with Boko Haram. Started as a small movement, and now look at it. And it'd be disastrous for the region if the Cameroonian government turned this thing into yet another type of Boko Haram.
Or Boko Haram could come back into Cameroon. Well, how do you mentioned, that it appears to be spiraling.
Pay close attention. Pay close attention. There is one key point this Senate representative spoke about, which I really admire, although he disputed that case. But that is the problem we need. Pay close attention. I'm going to bring back the Senate leader asking a vital questions. And that vital question is, what about permanent separation? That is the problem. That is the problem United States should pursue. That's the thing that should be on the discussion table. Separation. That is the right thing they must do. Separation with La Republique is the key factor that must terminate the relationship. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. Stay tuned and listen to the U.S. Senate representative.
Because the more the security forces clamp down, the more resistance there is in the Anglophone region. So what can we do that we're not already doing?
Well, like I said, the best we can do for right now is just work with our allies to really make the Cameroonian government understand the need for a real dialogue. And if that doesn't happen relatively quickly, then we have to look at the array of other tools we have in our toolkit, because, frankly, the possibility of sanctions is always there. But it's always better to work in concert with our friends before we go in that direction, because the frustrating thing is it is in the interest of everybody to have a national dialogue. The situation will not end militarily. Each day, the atrocities will get worse and worse.
Is permanent separation of the two regions a possibility?
Sir, I don't believe so, because I think that most Cameroonians, including in the Southwest and Northwest, have a sense of Cameroonianness, and the concept of a separated, what they call Ambazonia, in my view, is not realistic. Okay. It is the view of the United States of America to recognize the integrity of the country of Cameroon.
Got it. Thank you very much. Now you're back.
So I would like to see American diplomacy fully engaged in trying to contend with this challenge. You cited a number of other places where we have, I share your concerns about the elections in Uganda, concerns in Cameroon recently, particularly violence directed at the Anglophone population. So there are a whole series of places where we have challenges where I think the United States can help make a difference, and that starts with being engaged.
Have established some Potemkin institutions that weren't really doing anything.
And the concept of a separated integrity of the country of Cameroon.
Got it. Thank you very much. Now you're back.
Institutions to come and draft, because without the tit-for-tat response by our independence forces to the Yaoundé bullies, they will never have had a voice on ground zero to identify as federalists in Cameroon. Their earlier versions of federalists of the SCNC and the consortium were either banished, killed, or are still languishing in jails for clamoring for a return to federation. So they should draft, at least for the freedom we have bought for them with our blood. We also recognize that the choice to project as a middle ground pacifist in Cameroon can just be a selfish calculation or a deliberate dishonesty. Show me anyone who is preaching federalism who will reject the outcome of a free and independent Southern Cameroon. Show me one. So if you will partake of independence, then you must pay your draft now in support of our genuine efforts to deny La Republique du Cameroun a military solution, knowing that if La Republique du Cameroun won through the military option, the status quo will continue unabated at the mercy of the winner. Permit me to ask everyone this question. Granted, you don't want your child to go swimming at the beach because for you it is immoral. If your child is pushed by an enemy from a bridge into the water and is struggling to swim, even though he has never learned to swim, and there's someone selling floaters by the beach and will catapult one of the floaters to your drowning child, if only you will pay for one, will you say swimming is immoral? I cannot pay for a floater because I don't sponsor swimming. That kind of reasoning is likened to that of some who claim they don't support war. These people forget that we are not fighting French Cameroon because we chose to fight. We did not declare this war upon ourselves. How can you deny the victim help to defend himself because you are against war when you have no power to stop the aggressor? That is not naivety. It is called complicity to resolve a political problem by letting the assailant kill his way to victory. When La Republique du Cameroun started killing us in 2017, were we at war with them? Why do you think if we stop fighting back, they will stop killing us? The children massacred in Gabu, Mautu, Kumba, Pinyin, Bali, Ekona, Bafut, the 30,000 innocent civilians and thousands of our political detainees in prison, were they fighting with La Republique before their demise? Not helping our brave sons and daughters who have stood up to defend us is cruel, insensitive, and a gross betrayer. How can you, for some political calculation, be so heartless to let down the best among your children who brave the odds to stand up for your dear family? How dare you see them as terrorists? Listen to a preacher tell you this today. Jesus Christ, his disciples all carried swords with them. And Peter used his when they were attacked by the Sanhedrins. Without condemning Peter, Jesus did not ask Peter to throw away the sword, but rather he asked him to put it back in his shelf for another day. The reason being, his time had come to give himself up to die for mankind. You cannot be more Christian than Christ. Neither can you be a better follower than the disciples of Jesus Christ. I challenge you all today, whether Christian or Muslim, Africanist or moralist, to support this draft as a righteous duty we owe our dying people. This is so right in the sight of God. This year, every one of us should encourage a reluctant brother or sister to draft in his or her local government area and participate constructively during this crucial, critical time in our history. Let us remind them that those who defend their loved ones are the true heroes of their people. Let it be rehearsed in the Southern Cameroons Ambazonia this day, that one day all free riders in this revolution shall be publicly shamed, taxed double, and required to pay a levy to the government of Ambazonia before they can enter or settle in a free Ambazonia. Their double taxes and penalties will be used to pay ex-combatants of the same Ambazonia Restoration Forces they refused to support yesterday. So in Pidgin, we say, if you no chop meat now, and you must drink the soup after, what's the difference? Do this little today, or do it for the rest of your life later. It's almost 4 years now since dictator Biya declared war on us from 2018. We responded timidly, hoping that reason will prevail. But Biya in disdain rapidly built a robust genocidal machine using money plundered from our resources to wipe us all from the face of the earth.
History has not forgotten that Buea was the headquarters of West Cameroon. History has not forgotten that Buea was the capital of Southern Cameroons. And history has not forgotten that Buea was once the capital of German Cameroon. That is why I say that Buea is a historic town. I am proud, very proud to be in Buea, proud to walk on the same soil like our heroes. History has not like our heroes.
Be honest to ourselves. A lot has been done. That is why the president sent me to come here, to tell you that it is time. It is time that we regain our territory. We regain our independence, we regain our sovereignty, our normalcy, our dignity.
Chairman Ben Muna's take on federation.
People who talk about democracy must understand that a federation is the best form of democracy. If they don't understand, they need to go back to school. It's the best form of democracy.
His call to the President of the Republic.
The president can say what he wants. He doesn't make it. He's not God. He doesn't make it. The president of this country better wake up to the real fact. This country was united by permission. It was not one indivisible. It was united by the will of the people of the Southern Cameroon, not by the will of any other person.
What about the youths championing the cause?
The future is theirs. I'm 77. Mine is gone. I may die tomorrow. If they don't fight, our fathers will come from the graves to fight for them. They have the right to fight for it. The better fight, man. The better bloody fight. No liberty is gained by lying down and allowing people to work on you.
And the students held back at home?
Let them lose 1 year of school and get a better future. What are you talking about? Let them lose 2 years and get a better future.
What then happens to the future?
A lot has been done. That is why the president sent me to come here to tell you that it is time. It is time that we regain our territory. We regain our independence.
Hail this land of glory. We the Ambazonians pledge our loyalty. Presence to us.
Le raisonnement ou bien le déroulé de l'honorable Malice Bell, parce que nous sommes sur un plateau, le Cameroun c'est notre pays. Nous n'avons pas un autre pays. Et quand un problème est comme celui-ci, nous devons être honnêtes. Nous devons dire la vérité. Parce que si nous faisons la politique d'Autriche, nous allons perdre du temps, comme ceux qui nous gouvernent ont perdu du temps. Quand l'honorable Ouiba vient à l'Assemblée, il parle. Je crois qu'il le dit gravement. Il le dit clairement et vertement. C'est-à-dire que tout le monde suit ce qu'il dit. Mais la réaction d'en face, c'est qu'on menace de l'arrêter. Voilà des gens, c'est qu'on menace de l'arrêter. Et lui, il dit qu'avant d'arriver à l'Assemblée, il a posé le problème à certains membres du gouvernement. D'autres leur ont dit que non, écoutez, c'est vous qui avez choisi de venir vers nous. Vous avez voté, vous avez choisi, vous n'avez plus rien à dire. Comme ils nous disent, quand ils gagnent les élections, on n'a plus rien à leur dire, il faut attendre la fin du mandat. Donc s'ils brûlent le Cameroun, s'ils tuent les gens, s'ils jettent les gens en prison, on n'a rien à dire. Et c'est ça justement le raisonnement de ces gens. Je ne sais même pas dans quelle école ils étaient. Je crois que ce sont des gens qui sont complètement cadrés pour regarder à travers un prisme qu'ils comprennent seuls. Alors, d'autres lui disent, c'est comme si on avait mis 2 morceaux de sucre dans un verre d'eau. Donc on ne peut plus rien faire. Voilà des gens que Malice Bell nous disent qu'ils sont. Ces gens sont arrogants. Ils disent des mensonges. D'ailleurs, je vais vous dire, à la date d'aujourd'hui, ils sont pleins ici les anglophones. Moi, je fais des petites choses parfois avec les anglophones. Et quand je leur pose la question, ils me disent, chaque fois qu'un anglophone est face à un francophone, parce qu'à ce niveau, il sait qu'il est en face d'un menteur. Oui. Donc tout ce que le francophone dit, lui, a priori, il prend avec des pincettes. Parce qu'un francophone ne dit jamais la vérité. Ce n'est pas tous les francophones. Ça dit que c'est le préjugé qu'ils ont à la date d'aujourd'hui. Ça devient très compliqué. Ça dit que là où ces gens nous sont amenés est très compliqué. Donc, nous devons éviter, n'est-ce pas, de faire la politique d'autruche dans cette affaire. Parce que, nous dit que le président Paul Biya était honnête. Comment peut-il avoir été honnête? Nous avons 124 gars qui sont en prison. Et dans leurs revendications, ils demandent qu'on mette fin à la crise anglophone. Quand quelqu'un te dit, mettons fin à la crise anglophone, et il commence à marcher, c'est-à-dire qu'il commence à vouloir même se sacrifier, la réaction première, moi j'étais à l'école quand Idjo était au pouvoir, chaque fois qu'il y avait un mouvement, il demandait à ceux qui font le mouvement, choisissez vos leaders qui viennent me voir. Ils cherchent à comprendre pourquoi vous allez à ce niveau. Mais la réaction de ces gens qui sont des barbares au pouvoir, c'est de ramasser les gens, aller les jeter en prison. Et les gens font 1 an en prison, eux-mêmes font pire que ça ne leur dit rien, ils pensent que tout est normal. Mais madame, retenez que si vous ne devenez pas des hommes normaux, il faut que les Camerounais tous comprennent qu'ils vont se lever comme un seul homme pour vous dégager, parce que sinon vous allez mettre ce pays en l'air. Le Cameroun est sur le point d'être charcuté, fracturé, fragmenté par vous, et vous aurez la responsabilité de cette affaire. Parce que les anglophones, nous avons vécu avec les anglophones, ils ont tout toléré. Quand en 72, M. Idjo est venu tout seul violer la constitution de 61, ils ont toléré. Ils ont dit c'est comme notre pays, allons dans l'état unitaire, peut-être qu'il a une autre idée. Quand M. Biya en 84 a dit c'est la République du Cameroun, ils ont tout toléré. Quand en 92, Foundi a gagné l'élection, l'idée, ce qui a circulé dans la rumeur qui a circulé, c'est qu'un anglophone ne peut pas être président au Cameroun. Ça veut dire qu'ils sont en esclavage ici. Mais écoutez, vous ne gérez pas des objets ou des meubles, vous gérez des hommes. Des hommes comme vous. Et puis vous ne pouvez pas dire aux anglophones, bon, j'entends les gens dire, oui, on va leur donner, ils n'ont plus besoin de rien. Ils n'ont plus besoin de rien. Ce que vous devez savoir, c'est que s'ils ont besoin de quelque chose, c'est qu'ils ont besoin d'avoir le pouvoir et vous donner aussi ce que vous leur donnez. Vous ne pouvez pas faire croire aux gens que depuis 60 ans, parce que cette crise, c'est aussi la crise de longévité au pouvoir. Les 40 ans de M. Biya sont à l'origine de cette affaire à 60%. Pour la simple raison que tous ceux qui ont fait plus de 30 ans au pouvoir ont amené la guerre dans leur pays. Que ce soit en Libye, que ce soit tous ceux qui ont créé la longévité, il faut comprendre que personne, il n'existe aucun être humain au monde qui pense qu'un travail il peut le faire seul. Quand on nous dit que M. Biya est le seul qui peut gouverner au Cameroun, j'ai dit non. Donc, commencez à comprendre que vous êtes des hommes comme les autres, que vous êtes un homme comme moi, et que quand je suis dans l'opposition, vous aussi vous serez dans l'opposition demain. Et puis, c'est inadmissible. Comment nos enfants peuvent être en prison pendant 12 mois pour rien? Et puis ces gens regardent, et vous croyez que la crise anglophone, si vous allez maintenant travailler pour la fin de la crise anglophone, vous nous associez? Vous allez m'associer, moi, quand vous avez pris mes enfants, vous avez tordu le cou, vous avez jeté en prison. Quand vous êtes, je suis allé à Yaoundé, je suis allé au tribunal, j'ai vu le professeur Foguet menotter au tribunal. Mais vous le menottez pourquoi? Mais on vit avec des sauvages. Vous le menottez pourquoi? Qu'est-ce qu'il a fait? Vous allez chez quelqu'un, vous le prenez devant femme et enfant, comme vous dites ça, vous l'amenez, vous le menottez pendant des mois. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette histoire? On est où là? C'est quelle république? Et vous pensez que des gens qui sont des hommes civilisés, des gentlemen, peuvent faire ménage avec vous dans une affaire pareille? Commencez par comprendre que ce que vous avez fait, les gens ont supporté aujourd'hui, personne n'en veut plus. La crise, cette crise est aussi la crise de longévité. Et si rien n'est fait, parce qu'il y a des sécessionnistes par adhésion, c'est-à-dire des gens qui étaient des fédéralistes, mais qui, à force de voir que cette affaire dure infiniment, rallient la cause des sécessionnistes. Ok. Donc vous risquez de les mettre tous.
Take me home,
Drag me to my destiny. Take me, Holy Spirit. Yes. If you have to carry me, Holy Spirit. Carry me, Holy Spirit. Yeah. If you have to pour me, Holy Ghost. Lava, Lesuntaya, Lacosia, take me, Holy Spirit. Move me, Holy Spirit, to where you want me to stand. Push me, Holy Spirit, to where you want me to go. If I am stubborn, drag me, Holy Spirit, and take me to where you want me to be. Take me, Holy Spirit. Take me, Holy Spirit. Oh, sure. Lead me, Holy Spirit. Take me, Holy Spirit. Take me, Holy Spirit. Do not listen to my complaints. Oh, drag me, Holy Spirit. Oh, push me, Holy Spirit. Yeah. Lead me, Holy Spirit. Lead me, Holy Spirit. I give you permission today. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit. Oh, lead me, Holy Spirit.
In Southern Cameroons Ambazonia, 1:09 p.m. And I just want to take a moment to thank Corazon Tambe for Lead Me, Holy Spirit. Lead Me, Holy Spirit, for that strong song. Lead Me, Holy Spirit is a very, very painful song, and I believe that for those who are watching, this is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking this afternoon here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. Fellow brothers and sisters throughout the entire planet, citizens of the Southern Cameroon throughout the planet. It is very, very painful for all of us breaking this morning.
Démontrez que vous êtes déjà des hommes normaux, parce que je crois que ceux qui nous gouvernent ne sont pas bien structurés dans la tête.
Merci Emmanuel Cougnier. Monsieur le maire Jean Robert.
Dans la vie, je vous dis.
This is not video. For some people, they might be seeing it, think that it's just a video. This is the reality. This is what is happening in Southern Cameroon territory. This is the life that the people of Southern Cameroon are demonstrating against the invasion of Southern Cameroon territory. This is the lifestyle, and this is what is making news in Southern Cameroon. This is not a movie. This is not a video show. This is a reality. So that's why I'm bringing it for all of the citizens to see the physical action that is going on in Southern Cameroon territory by the invasion of the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroun. Stay tuned and...
Oh, who's heard that man for that video? I said, who's heard that man for video? Come. Hola. Oh, now we go for the one. When I left there, we'll go for the one. When I come for the one. Who's that man with that? Oh! Ah. Who's that man with that granite? Who's that? Am I with that? Oh! What's that? Oh. Get the one. No, wait. Get the one. Take that thing. No, I don't. You see that the camera? I should. Budi funzo. Tiens, ça, où ça, dama, ouais, bon, t'as un autre. I don't know. I said, we don't shoot. I said, we go for that motor, we go waste time. Oh. Bring that, I know. Can't look down. Oh, cabin. Don't look near. Fetch any of us, yalla. Go load. One. When I load the thing. Oh. Mama, il est fier là aussi. I said, when I. The Marine Force, when I show them. The Marine Force, when I show them. On va voir. Marine Force, when I show them. When I show them. The Marine Force. Marine Force, when I show them. Now so one this. I'll pick out again.
The marine force na show them.
Who's that the Monday? Granovan Bow. Can't go take her for that. Go take her for that, Luda. Strong. Look there, Bon. You know, say you go lock my ear with that gun. Look that gun.
The marine force will show them. You want to come outside? Come on. Keep it up. Now come outside. Now come outside. No pity life. No pity life. Dangerous. No pity life. No pity life. No pity life.
That's right. Now, the should have gone enough. What about that bug here? Okay, don't get. Take the one, Luda.
It's gotten a lot of attention on Twitter. A lot of people are saying, wait, where's the outrage of for what's going on in Nigeria? We saw 4 million people marching in the streets of Paris. We saw world leaders gathering there to sort of stand in solidarity with Paris. Where are those calls for the same kind of justice for the people of Nigeria? Help us understand the difference here and maybe why we're not hearing the same level of outrage. Or is there a reason?
Yeah, good morning, Michaela. Yeah, the issue is, you know, the stark difference, isn't it? World leaders, very prominent, linking arms, walking the Champs-Élysées, complete solidarity against this and outrage against what happened in Paris, vis-a-vis what we see in Nigeria, which is truly not, it should not be surprising. Look, what's happening in Nigeria is barbarous. It's horrible. I mean, it's complete madness, yet it's not a priority. The United States unilaterally could do almost anything it needs to do. It would be a long-term effort, but it could be done. And the United States has the capability. All the elements of power, we have those.
So why not?
Complete. It's not a priority. That's the problem. We are committed elsewhere in the world. Black West Africa is not a priority. Very stark, very hard to say, but that's the case right now.
It's gotten a lot of attention on Twitter. A lot of people are saying, wait, where's the outrage of for what's going on in Nigeria? We saw 4 million people marching in the streets of Paris. We saw
already morning.